From Vanderbilt to now MTSU just picked up a triple overtime victory over Marshall as they prepare for a road trip to Florida Atlantic. Here's head coach Rick Stockstill.
All right, appreciate everybody being here. Again, the grind continues. We got to just keep working, keep competing. We're coming off a great win last week. Really proud of our team and how we played and how we approached that game. Florida Atlantic doesn't have that good of a record. They've lost some tough, close ball games earlier in the year. Kind of like us there. We had a couple. They had a couple. But they've got really good players. State of Florida. So they've got their quarterback back now. It looks like he's healthy. Struggled a little bit with some injuries at midseason. This game is always close. Last year we threw one in at the buzzer to win it. The year before we threw one in at the buzzer to beat them in overtime down there. So it's always a close game. Their defense is very active. They're leading the conference in sacks with 23. Their corner, Crevon LeBlanc, I hope I'm saying that right, is leading the conference in interceptions. So they've got a really good team on defense. They don't, it's tough to move the ball against them. They're about, probably right there in the middle to the upper echelon in the conference. So offensively, or their offense, our defense, we got to stop the run. That's where it starts, and we've got to do a good job. They busted out the first play of the game last year on an 80-yard run for a touchdown. So we've got to do a good job from that standpoint of stopping the run and trying to make them one-dimensional. They're a team that we've got to prepare for everything. They went for fourth down 7 times last week against Western Kentucky and converted 6 of them. They tried a fake punt on us last year from backed up, on the 25, 30-yard line. They've run a bunch of trick plays, this year. They ran some yesterday or Saturday against Western Kentucky, and they hit a couple of them. So we've got to make sure we do a great job of preparing and playing with our eyes. A couple times Saturday against Marshall, we watched the ball. We didn't keep our eye discipline, and they had a chance for some big plays on some trick plays to get over the top of us. Fortunately, it didn't happen. But this is a good team, and it's the same thing I say all the time. It's not about Florida Atlantic. It's about us, and we've got to prepare this week with a great mental approach to play a good football team. So with that, I'll open it up.
Coach, following such an emotional win Saturday, can you describe how the team was Sunday when you guys met, as far as, you always say that they're hungry, they're always motivated, but what was the morale of the team Sunday following such an emotional win?
They were there's a little more pep in their step, obviously. They were very proud of what they accomplished. We didn't play as well as we'd like to have played in some certain areas. But I told the team the previous Sunday, and I might have told you guys, I said, I'll walk in here next Sunday, and whoever I say is the toughest team is going to be, nothing else matters. Who's ever the toughest team is going to win that game. And we were a mentally and physically tough team. We turned the ball over 3 times inside the red zone. We dropped 3 interceptions. We missed a field goal. We did a lot of things that you can't do and win consistently, but toughness is what won that game. And so I was proud of them for that.
Could you tell us how you evaluated the offensive line? You guys were able to get a rusher. Desmond rushed for over 100 yards, and he was able to find holes this week. Could you evaluate the offensive line for us?
Well, anytime you can run the ball, like we did, it takes pressure off Brent. It takes pressure off the passing game. So that helped us a lot there. In some of these other games, we haven't been able to run as well, and that makes it hard on a quarterback. That makes it hard on your offensive line. It makes it hard on everybody. and to be able to still throw for over 300 yards when you don't have a running game, is a testament to those guys, to our receivers, our quarterback, to our offensive line, our backs, everybody. So that makes it tough. So being able to run the ball yesterday or Saturday, it took a little bit of pressure off the passing game, and we were still able, to throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. And going into that game, Marshall had only given up 7 touchdown passes total. So we throw 3 in one game, and they'd only given up 7 in the previous 9 games. But we did a great job. I thought our coaches did a great job. We created some runs without our running backs. Richie got, I think, 45 yards or so in the running game. Brent had maybe 20 yards, there, not counting the sacks. So we were able to get some yards out of some people that we haven't gotten the last few weeks. But I thought our offensive line did a good job. Those 5 played the whole game, because of where we are from an injury standpoint. So they played over 90 plays, and to play at the level they played at, I thought they did a really good job. They competed. They strained their body. We gave up a couple sacks, but they were good in the passing game and better in the running game. And then, Dez, other than the fumble, I thought he was explosive. Made some good runs. Shane still not. He's, not even close to 100%. But he came in and gave us, a little bit. He secured the ball, for us there at the end.
You've talked about Desmond needing to work on picking up the blitz. I know 2 games isn't really a lot of time to get a lot of improvement in that area. With the pass rush coming in this week, how are you preparing Desmond for that?
He's got to do better. On the touchdown pass in overtime, he missed the block and went the wrong way, and Brent got hit pretty good right there before he threw it. And so we got to get better. But that's going to come. He's a puppy, and he'll get better every day in practice. But for the most part, he's doing good. It's just there's growing pains when you play freshmen. There's growing pains, and I know, this is the 10th game, but for him, it's probably the 3rd game. So he hadn't played that much. So he'll get better. He's got a wonderful attitude. Shane and Jordan, Jeremiah have really done a good job helping him. Jeremiah did a nice job, on the sideline, Saturday in between series, talking to him and helping him. So he's a good player, and he'll continue to improve.
Has the creativity in the running game with Richie and some of those things, do you like getting that creative with the run, or is it more out of necessity?
No, I think Chip is more being creative as we go along. And, I don't know if you noticed how they played, but they played a nickel, their guy there on number 7 on Richie. If Richie was in the backfield, he was lined up as a linebacker, and wherever he went, if he went in motion, he went with him. He lined up in the slot, he lined up over him. So, trying to just move people around. That was the first time we've done it. We did it earlier in the year. We had Richie in the backfield, and we, cracked Ed there. I think it was the first quarter. We throw it out there, the one he dropped. Richie dropped out of the backfield. It's a touchdown. But something that we saw during the course of the game that we put in. So just trying to be as creative as we can. Richie's a smart player. Ed's a smart player. They're both athletic enough that we can move them around, and that's why you see them both going in motion so much, is trying to create some mismatches. Yeah, it's not like you've got, your playbook is here in August, and you're only going to do this much of it. And then next week you do a little bit more, and the next week it's more, you want to stay within your system, and then you watch who you're playing, you evaluate who you're playing, what they do schematically, and like I said, try to create some mismatches by moving people around, but staying within the parameters of your own philosophy, your own offensive system.
And on defense, talk a little bit about T.T. Barber. I think he's the sixth player in school history to be over 300 tackles, and that's in 100 years of football. I mean, and he does it kind of with, just a real lunch pail kind of guy.
T.T. I thought played extremely fast last week at Marshall. I thought he was active. He played physical. He was involved in the passing game, with the interception. He just did a good job. And he had good coverage on the touchdown pass there at the end of the game on the corner route. The guy just made a nice play on it. But, he's a special young man. I respect him because of his work ethic and how hard he plays. Just a really good football player. He's not the prototypical size, he's a little undersized, but he competes his tail off. He studies. He's conscientious. He's a great leader. He's a winner. He's a winner in life, and he's a winner on the football field.
Touching on the defense, defensive coordinator Tyrone Nix said that the defense in past weeks have been trying to do too much and not taking care of their own business, whether it was TT in the middle or the corners trying to do too much. Do you feel like they got back to, as Nix put it, raking their own leaves this week?
Well, you got to do that, not only offensively, defensively, kicking game. You got to do your job. Do your job and don't worry about somebody else's. And, I thought there were times that, I apologize for all that, but there were times where we just, when they threw the double pass, I could go back to what I said earlier. Our eyes weren't where they needed to be. We're doing somebody else's job before we were doing ours, and the ball got over the top of us, or could have gotten over the top of us. We did a better job. It's still not perfect, and as a coach, that's what you strive for, is perfection. But we did better. We did better. I thought our defense did a lot better, but just the relentless effort that they played with was fun to watch.